Healthy that actually tastes amazing. Peter built Shār Snacks to prove that these aren't opposites. We get into why most trail mixes miss, how ingredient quality shows up on the palate, and the education gap that holds better food back. Peter, thanks so much for being here.
I'm really happy to be here. I appreciate you guys reaching out.
Your business, Shār Snacks, is 37 years in the making. Tell me what that means and what the journey looked like to start your business.
It feels a lot like connect the dots type of moments, and there's almost like a spider web, with all these threads that all played a part and a role in the development of the brand and the concept and deciding to launch. And, what I mean by that is like, my growing up in Vermont, which is to say growing up in the outdoors shaped a lot the kind of brand we are. We're really more of an outdoor brand that happens to sell to the food business. And I think my 37 years working in the outdoor industry, growing up around brands like Patagonia and Yeti and North Face, just these iconic, exemplary, pioneering brands, that definitely helped shape the kind of company Shār is today, for sure.
You've been in the outdoors industry, as you said, pretty much your entire life. I really have always resonated with the fact that you say you're an outdoors brand that just so happens to sell snacks or, that sort of thing. Where did that come from, and where did the inspiration for the actual product come from, having, drawn inspiration from the outdoors all along?
Trail mix is probably the most iconic of all outdoor snacks. It's been around for over 100 years, before chips and bars and all the other things. The original sort of iconic version of it, good old raisins and peanuts, Gorp, is kind of average. I mean, not a whole lot going on there. So there was a pivotal moment for me personally that set me on a track to want to, find a really healthy snack that I could graze on all day long. And trail mix had always been my go-to snack, but everything I found in the stores was just dumbed down with cheap ingredients, too much sugar, too much salt. You know what I'm talking about. And so I thought it could be done better. And then, again, growing up around brands like Yeti, for example, it's like, wow, maybe we could, take that approach to making a snack.
I mean, the industry needed it, obviously, right?
I thought so.
You mentioned in there that there was a personal moment when you realized that this might be, that you needed a healthy snack.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that?
I was a former professional skier, and then as a middle-aged adult, a competitive runner for about 12 years. But then I started getting injured all the time because in my 40s, I was trying to run like I was in my 20s, and my body was like, dude, no way we're going to keep doing this. So I needed a new fitness regime, and I stopped running for a year and evaluated all different kinds of things and landed on CrossFit and yoga. And at the same time, I started eating paleo, which is a really more restrictive, I think, but really clean way to eat. Those were unrelated, but the combination of those three things, really high intensity workouts, and then what turns out to be just a pretty low carb diet. I was really hungry and it just needed something I could snack on. It's like, oh my God, trail mix would be perfect. And then I was like, nah, I gotta start mixing my own. This stuff is not good. And then it's like, I spent my whole adult career representing these unique startups that had become these iconic brands. So now I had a chance to have my own version of that.
You started mixing this just for yourself, like it was purely a need that you had personally. And so when did you realize that you should start kind of packaging and selling it?
It was almost 5 years all in before I launched. From when, like, maybe I could turn this into a brand someday. I wasn't sure, but I was kind of going along, taking the, working on the business plan and formulating the recipe. I mean, I spent 3 years, 900 hours, 52 iterations to create that original recipe. I wasn't sure I was still going to launch, actually, because it was a pretty big undertaking, a massive undertaking, and I underestimated that. I was looking for a way to give back to the outdoors because it had been a privilege for me to work in that industry for so long and around, just a love of the outdoors and being around all these amazing people in the outdoor industry who are so inspiring and just It's just an amazing industry to work in. I'll say that. Through one of the brands I represented, Keen Footwear, they were very connected as one of the pinnacle members to the Conservation Alliance. The executive director used to come to our sales meetings. So through representing that brand, I had become more connected to the Conservation Alliance than I would have otherwise. And so it's like, oh my God, I can use Shār as a vehicle to give back to the outdoors through the Conservation Alliance. And the more we sell, the more we can give back. So we set up a pledge to donate 20% of our annual net profits. So that was a big kind of lever to push me to, it's like, wow, I can use Shār as a vehicle to give back to the outdoors. And it sounds problem solved.
Fast forward, how many years now?
We had our 7th birthday last week. Guess what? It's great to have birthdays when you're a startup. It means you're still around.
Exactly.
Wait, I got to tell you this really funny story. So Rory First, who's the chairman, CEO of Keen Footwear, and he's done an unbelievable job growing that brand. He came down. We launched at the Outdoor Retail Trade Show, not at a food show, because we're an outdoor brand. He puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, let me tell you Rory First's first rule of business. And then he pauses dramatically and he goes, stay in business. It was kind of this ha-ha moment, but it's one of those things that burned in my brain, like onto the hard drive. And it's really good feedback, because great companies can spend themselves right out of business every day. Number one rule of business is stay in business. So it's good to still be here.
Have there been any points along the journey where it feels like that simple advice, staying in business, feels more complicated than it should?
I underestimated how much of everything it was going to take, how much more time, energy, determination, passion, money. Creating a new brand out of thin air is a lot of work. It's a little bit like, training for a, marathon or something. I mean, it's a lot of just getting up every day. You just got to keep at it. Like a lot of other kinds of goals, I guess. Wherever you get to, if it doesn't feel like there's a finish line per se. I've realized 10% of what Shār can be or could be as a brand. So 90% in the windshield and 10% in the rearview mirror. And yet it still feels like if I walked outside and got hit by a bus and Shār ended, no succession plan or anything, if Shār shut down today, it would still feel like it's been an absolute spectacular success. So that's exciting to me, because as successful as it feels like we've been, we're only 10% in.
What was the first win where you felt like, you'd made the right decision in investing your time and money and resources?
The first year we were at the Outdoor Retail Trade Show in 2018, it was in Denver. They had moved the show from Salt Lake City, where it had been for 23 years, to Denver. That was the first summer show. So everyone was kind of getting the lay of the land about where the good locations were and things like that. The rep told me it was going to be a great location, but it was kind of like Harry Potter living under the staircase. Retailers who were at the show couldn't find us. They were like, dude, where are you? I'm like, oh, take a left and a right, then go down that. And it's over there near the food trucks on the outside. Like, it was a horrific location. The next year we found out where we should be, and we were there. And so in the outdoor industry, REI is, the largest outdoor retailer in the industry. If you're in REI, that is your biggest and best account. So, the hope was to land with REI, but I didn't want to reach out to them. I wanted them to find us. I wanted to have the kind of brand where people talking about him, like, you got to go find Shār. In 2019, we had just launched our new Shār 2 packaging at that show. 2 of the buyers showed up. They just walked in. It's like really hard to, even if you're a vendor, to get an appointment with them at the show. They walked in and spent 45 minutes. And before they walked out, they're like, we're definitely picking this up. We're going to launch you in 32 of our flagship locations this fall. This is awesome. I literally, when they left, did cartwheels down the aisle. It's like,
when the product speaks for itself to that volume, it's a whole different ballgame, because like you said, anticipating having to do that upfront work and do that marketing and getting in front of people is quite complicated. But the fact that they came to you is awesome.
I've learned a few things along the way, I think, working in the outdoor industry for that long. And One of them is product is king. I have a filter that I apply that I think any founder could apply who's got an idea for a new product. I think you have to ask yourself, are we first, best, or different? Because if you're not the first one to do this new thing, whatever it is, that means other people are already doing it. If you're not the best version of it, then you're somewhere else, like in the middle of the back. And if you're not different from everyone, it's like you might not be the first. You don't necessarily have to be the best. But if you're not different somehow, then why would anyone ever buy your thing, whatever that is? That's why I spend so much time leveling up over what we were making.
You're absolutely right about that framework. It could apply to anything, service, product, anything like
An
that.
app, a movie, a book, a restaurant.
Absolutely.
You could have some really slick kind of smoke and mirrors marketing. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's long-term value there for the customer. Then it's not going to be long-lived. There's got to be some staying power. The product is what gives you the staying power.
Where did the name come from?
Oh, great question. That was 4 years and over 1,200 names. I'm not exaggerating. What's in a name? Like, I think there's a lot in a name. And so I had a naming matrix. I had 4 boxes to check. If I had all 4 boxes, I'll have my name. But that was excruciating. If I had $1 for every hour I spent on the name, I'd be a millionaire just on the naming. The first box was 4 letters, 1 syllable, because shorter names are more powerful and unforgettable. If this was Pete's Mountain Mix, and you might have found it, at a grocery store or something, by the time you got home, somebody asked you about it, you'd be like, I don't remember what it was. There's just way too much noise. So Yeti, Teva, Nike, like shorter is better. And 1 syllable, even better. So that was box 1. Box 2 was domain available. Like, you have to have the domain. Box 3 was I wanted a category neutral name because snacks can be sold in a lot of different kinds of places, right? Yoga studio, Whole Foods. And I didn't want the name to pigeonhole us into a category of retail, a channel of retail. So I wanted it to be category neutral. So it looked like it belonged. If you saw it at REI, you'd go, oh, this looks like it fits. And the fourth one was the most difficult. I wanted an emotional concept that was the name of the brand, because that's how you connect with consumers, is emotionally. Sharing is one of the oldest words in the English language. And the most fundamental way that all 8 billion humans on the planet connect is around sharing. And there's a lot of different ways you can talk about it. Like, we're sharing stories right now and experiences. I could loan you something physically. You could borrow it. Mentors can share, their expertise with someone they might be trying to help. And sharing food is one of the most fundamental human things we do. It's baked into our DNA from caveman days, sitting around a cave and a fire, eating some food together so you can make it to the next day. There were a couple of triggering events along the way that kept me moving, and finally landing on Shār was perfect. And I actually think it's one of the best assets we have as a brand, because we own that now. It's trademarked. SHARE isn't an ownable word, and I couldn't trademark it. So the workaround was to spell it phonetically. So with that accent over the A, it's a long A. It's pronounced share, and that's precisely what we mean.
Do people ever mistake or misname it because they don't know the accent?
What's Shār?
Yeah.
And it's like, Shār is nothing, but that's actually pronounced share. Once you know it, you'll never not know it. It's probably not awesome from a marketing point of view to have to explain things to consumers. That's not optimum, but we're just doing the best to work around that.
Yeah, and I feel like once people get it, it clicks, right? Like the whole story of sharing that meal, I'm really fascinated by that, and you're absolutely right that people connect over that. I imagine that was part of the vision when you were designing the brand, designing the name, that sort of thing. Have you found that to be true based on feedback that you're getting from the market?
As part of our brand architecture, our role as a brand is to be a kindred spirit. So less transactional. Make this thing and you buy it and then next. That's just transactional relationship with your customers. We want to be more like a kindred spirit. Someone who's in tune with you, who gets you, who, you're proud to be seen with and love to be around. We want to connect that way. And that's actually what led to the Bear and the Bird. That's a manifestation of our role as a brand to be a kindred spirit. When you come to know us, then that just fits without really knowing and me explaining our role as a brand to be a kindred spirit. It all just works when you come to know us as the brand we are.
I feel like you're giving me a master class on like product marketing and product like CPG product right now. But at the same time, it feels like it's just because you care so much. Like I can feel the energy and the passion behind your brand. Did you think about starting a brand in the previous 37 years while you were, in the outdoors industry? Was that a thought in your head? Did you anticipate doing this down the line, or
No,
right place, right time?
no, I think it was like, sort of all these converging roads just arriving at that point in my life. I mean, I started mixing for myself, but it didn't take long for me to think, maybe I could turn this into a brand. And that it was a little bit like a pixelated photo. You can't really see what's going on there. And then over the years, it kept coming into more focus. And then it was definitely like 4 years in, more high def. I like what this has turned into. And I think we've got a shot. I think with product too, you have to pick a lane. Like you have to know who your customer base is, who your target demographic is, things like that. It can't just be this for everyone. It's like, good luck with that. I was at the Outdoor Retail Trade Show 19 years ago when Yeti launched. So take a guess what the average price of a cooler was before Yeti arrived. The cooler market, retail price.
100? I don't know.
$30.
$30.
So there were two market leaders back then, Igloo making under $15 styrofoam coolers you could buy at a gas station, and Coleman making these sort of average basic coolers. It was a pretty uninspiring category. So average price of all coolers sold $30. Yeti walks into that show 19 years ago with a $300 version of a $30 market. I was representing Teva at the time and standing in their booth, looked down the aisle and made one of the dumbest predictions I've ever made in front of all everybody. It's like, well, we won't see those clowns next year because clearly they're insane. Yeti's gone on to become like one of the most successful badge brands in America. What I did figure out though is their approach. And I've never heard them say it this way, but here's how I think Yeti makes stuff. And it's to create an extraordinary version of an ordinary thing. Not just a little bit better. It's all about the gap. Coolers, drinkware, dog dishes, camp chairs, everything Yeti makes, they consistently use that approach. So 14 years later, when I started working on Shār, I thought, that was one of my other aha moments. I don't think anyone's applied that to snacks before, to make an extraordinary version of an ordinary thing, because there's a market for extraordinary. And the other thing is you can't really say you're extraordinary. Anyone. The market can only tell brands they're extraordinary. But they have with brands like Yeti and Rivian and Smartwool and, the list goes on and on. But there's a market for extraordinary. Two things kick in when you are an extraordinary brand. People that are brand gold. People want to talk about it and they want to own it. Think about going into an airport here in Austin and asking anyone in the airport, would you like a Yeti? Anything, a drink, drinkware, cooler. 100 people out of 100 would say, absolutely. So not everyone can afford it because it's premium product. And then even people who don't own it will talk about it like, oh my God, these Yeti coolers, keep icy for 2 days. A bear can sit on it. That's the best you can ever hope to have as a brand. People want to own it. They want to talk about it. Yeti didn't invent the cooler, kind of perfected it. We didn't invent trail mix, but I spent 3 years trying to get there with it. So Yeti started with coolers, and then they came out with drinkware. They didn't invent drinkware either. Corksicle, Clean Canteen, Hydro Flask, all had been there before. Guess how long it took for Yeti to own the drinkware category? It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
About 8 minutes. The reputation they had with the coolers was like, oh my God, Yeti's making drinkware? Are you kidding me? Sign me up. And then think about it. They could literally make anything they want. If they do it that way consistently, there's a market for it. We already established that. So as long as they're They figured out how to make the extraordinary version of that ordinary thing. And no surprise that they are now north of 2 billion in sales annually. It's working. And so apply that now to snacks. We're not a trail mix company. We're a farm to table snack food company. So if we're able to establish that with trail mix, the next thing we make with our customer base is going to be like, Shār's making a cookie, Shār's making a bar. If we're able to execute that way, we can make anything we want and own it, own the category. So that's pretty exciting to me. There's so many places where you can sell snacks. It's just on an airplane, in an airport, in a grocery store, in a boutique store, in hotels. And it's a big, big market.
The value of eating well is...
Well, yeah, now you're hitting on something really important. So on the product side, like really clean, healthy food. You know, in the last 150 years, our food systems gone backwards. We've moved away from knowing where our food comes from. Like you walk into any grocery store anywhere and buy something, a piece of meat, a fish, some chicken, fat, whatever it is, usually wrapped in plastic, some whatever that is on the packaging side. And you have no idea how it got there, who grew it, under what conditions. I think it's a really unhealthy disconnect. So one of the things we're trying to do is build back that connection to the farmers. We're one of the few snack brands in America that can tell you the names of the farms where every ingredient came from. And we can because I picked them. And by the way, those are organic farms. 94% of all the snack companies in America don't use organic ingredients. So these are ingredients responsibly sourced from small organic family farms, grown the way nature intended, free from chemical pesticides, herbicides, synthetic fertilizers that, by the way, destroy the topsoil, pollutes the groundwater, and it gets into the food. It's in every way inferior. So the most important label you should look for on a package is that one. Is it organic or not? And organic certification is not perfect, but it's still way ahead of conventional farming. We're trying to build back those connections to the farmers, to responsibly sourced healthy food. We add nothing. That is one of the healthiest snacks you can buy. I don't know how you can make a snack any healthier. We buy these responsibly sourced ingredients from an organic farm. We mix it, package it in really sustainable packaging. I don't know how you can make a snack healthier than that. We add nothing. That combination of, nuts and dried fruit is one of the healthiest snacks you can eat from a nutrition standpoint. And there's a reason why it's been such an iconic snack for forever in the outdoor industry.
You touched on certification there, and I think that's a really interesting point. And I think from a consumer perspective, it's often misunderstood just because there are so many certifications. You hear that this one's bullshit and this one's legit and all these different things. From someone in the industry who obviously, cares what certifications go on your product, can you give me a general overview, maybe what makes sense to look out for, what the consumer should look for?
Today, consumers are finally starting to learn more, educate themselves so they know more they can make more intelligent choices with their food. The challenging part is there are over 300 different labels that you can find on food packaging, a lot of that in snacks. And it's really confusing. And there's a lot of posturing, positioning, non-GMO verified and, gluten-free, grain-free, and sugar. There's no sugar, but we're using this fake sugar instead, sugar-free. I don't know. There's just a lot of posturing to try to make things look healthy. The most important one is it's a very black and white thing. Is it organic or not? Because that's where how the ingredients got there. Because if they're not organic, they're grown on a conventional farm using toxic pesticides, chemical herbicides, poisonous chemicals to grow the food. And so that in every way is inferior and not healthy. Organic costs more. And so that's why 94% of the snacks don't use organic, because it costs more. Mm-hmm. And they're maybe not sure consumers would be willing to pay the difference. For us, we don't care what it costs to do what we feel is the right way to do it. And I'm trying not to be judgmental that way, but I think we should make clean, healthy food to sell to consumers and responsibly sourced and without chemicals. I guess I don't feel like that's really my opinion. That just feels like the right way to do it. Yeah, on the labeling side, I think the best thing you can do is just try to learn more. I learned a lot, and I'm not the world expert on all of this, but we're learning as we go, and just we get up every day just trying to do the best we can and do things the right way.
And that's how you achieve excellence, right? Going back to the Yeti thing, like I'm likening this healthy alternative snack. Like, I mean, you already made this connection, but where I'm going with this is you said that the $30 cooler market to the $300 cooler market. I mean, you're not a 10x. You're not a 10x price, right? On the unhealthy snack, if you will. Mm. What do you find the barrier is, though, to we're talking about cost differences, and we're talking about maybe a couple dollars here, but that can make an impact to some people. Do you think the barrier is education on educating these people that this is a superior product because of the health benefits?
For sure. To say that this is just trail mix is like saying Roger Federer's just a tennis player, or Yeti's just a cooler. But then when people see the word trail mix, the bar is really low, I think. So it's a pretty unspectacular pedestrian snack in general. It's just trail mix. And there's a lot more going on with us and what we try to do with it. But until you try it, you don't know that. So that's definitely a challenge just to get people to try us, because they see trail mix and they're like, oh, I know what's going on here. The world doesn't need another average trail mix. There's plenty of mediocrity going on. So when we do sampling demos, like, our conversion rates are really high because they're like, oh my God, you don't know what it tastes like, how it can taste until you taste this. And so that's a big challenge. And the price is a challenge, by the way. We've become conditioned to expect and get our food really cheap and readily available. Getting blueberries in January when they're not really growing. It's just you can kind of go get food and get it very inexpensively, and that's conventional farming. We should be eating the foods that are in season, and when they're not, you move to the stuff that grows in the fall, and because that's how it was meant to be. We are definitely pricey. I mean, not intentionally. It just costs more to do it the way we do it. Mm-hmm. Our margins are not extravagant at all. They're responsible, respectable margins, so we can. Number one rule of business: stay in business. You got to make a margin. That definitely is a barrier to people trying us out, because if they haven't tried us out and they're like, how much is that again? We are definitely way more expensive than the average trail mix. But the customers who try us and like us, we have a lot of online customers that have a subscription for a 2.5 pound bag showing up every month. And we also then, our number one customer, Gary Miller, was like, dude, the 2.5 pound bag's not cutting it. He literally emailed this to me 3 years ago. Can I get Shār in a 55-gallon drum? I'm like, no, Gary, we don't have a 55-gallon drum, but I like how you're thinking. How about if we have this 6-pound box? So we offer that, and we have customers that have a 6-pound box of Shār coming in.
I'm really fascinated by the way that you've decided to market the product. Obviously, getting in front of the customer is the number one, but the ambassador program that you have specifically. And, you've chosen, for those that don't know, you've chosen these incredible athletes to partner with. So tell me about how that came about and why it's important to the brand.
When I was getting ready to launch back in 2018 on the big master spreadsheet, one of the sort of wish list categories was I was hoping to have an ambassador athlete team of people, and I had some guys who was like, oh my God, if we could get Alex Honnold and Jimmy Chin and Conrad Anker and sort of these iconic outdoor folks, but I didn't want it to be a typical pay to play model. I wanted them to discover us at some point, because they're professional athletes who knew they want and need to prefer to eat really healthy food for fuel. But then I also wanted to build the kind of brand from a mission standpoint, that they personally would relate to and want to get behind. It took years for us to be known that way. Like, you can't just say, you're Patagonia. It took them decades to become known the way they are today as one of the most respected and admired companies of all companies in the United States. They won that award. Mission statements are just words on paper. You have to get up and be that every day. And it takes time for people to come to know you that way. We were at the Mountain Film Festival in Telluride 2 years ago, and Jim Morrison, like captain of the, I don't know if he's captain of the North Face global athlete team, but you know, an iconic big mountain skier, he came up and was like, dude, will you sponsor me? Like, I'm tired of eating shitty trail mix, word for word. I was like, yes. And so then, you know, he's connected to his good friend, Jimmy Chin. And so then, you know, sort of a little bit like Domino's. We were the feature snack at the Global Athletes Summit that North Face hosts every year. 120 of the top outdoor athletes in the world, part of this gigantic team. And so we had our zero waste snacking. They all, you know, had a tube, and then some of those athletes were already on our team, and then a few more were like, can we be on that team? The reason it was important to me was to help validate that, you know, there's something of true value here for that caliber of athlete. And some of them are ambassadors. They're not really athletes. One of my most favorite people on the team is Jody Potts Joseph, who's a native Alaskan. She's a long distance dog musher and a wilderness guide, and also a big, you know, she speaks loudly and often about conservation and native rights in Alaska. And so she's got like the living, breathing spirit of what we really care about. You know, we're deeply committed to conservation and sustainability. Shār's like a three-legged stool. That's a good way to think about us. Product is king, that's one, but we care as much about the other two legs being conservation and sustainability, and we care as much about those other two things as we do product. And so, and Jody's just, she doesn't know any other way than to, you know, it's built into her DNA as a native Alaskan to treat the planet with respect, to, you know, how they approach food and giving and sharing and things like that. And plus she's a long distance dog musher. Wait, and by the way, she just qualified for the Iditarod. You have to qualify for that annual long distance dog sled race. And she's the first female in over 20 years. And I think if I have that right, might be the first native Alaskan female too. And so, and we're going to be supplying her next year for the Iditarod, which is really exciting. Just the challenges around, you know, food drops in the middle of nowhere in Alaska in the winters. How do you figure that out?
Oh, it's so wild. It's incredible. Have you watched dog mushing before?
Not in person, yeah. But I'm pretty sure we're going to go. My twin brother and I, he's a partner in the company. We do kind of a twin ski trip every year, but we haven't been to Alaska. So we're thinking, maybe we'll go to Alaska next year so we can finally, you know, check that box off, and then go to Anchorage for the start of because it's a big deal, the whole start when they all, I don't know how many teams there are, 20 teams or so take off for this 1,000-mile, 12-day.
You might experience that -40 that we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, that I get really excited about stuff like that, being connected to people like Jody and Jim and what they're doing. That's probably been the coolest thing about starting this company, is the connections. It has been, you wouldn't believe the people I've come in contact with and had conversations with. 2007 Nobel Peace Prize winner Al Gore. We got invited to be part of his Climate Underground Summit last year. I met in an elevator the chairman of the board of Newman's Own, one of the coolest CPG brands of all time. He introduced me to their CEO, and I got to talk with them about what they're doing and how they do it. You know, the CEO of Rivian. We did 11 events with Rivian last year. You know, all these folks at North Face, the largest outdoor brand in the world. I mean, it's just been the head of Outside Inc., Robin Thurston, you know, who now produces the Outside Festival. I mean, it's just been incredible meeting you two guys. I mean, this is pretty cool what you guys are doing. And I'm thrilled to come meet you guys and hear more about your story.
The networking, the connections that you've made since starting the brand, was that an expected or unexpected benefit?
I hadn't thought about that. Like, that might be an outcome. And for sure, you know, as a founder and CEO, that's kind of opened the door, if you will, to be able to, connect with some of these folks. I knew how I wanted to approach the business, with, those areas of focus and intention, but I didn't realize how unique that was going to be. And so that's definitely helped a lot. RJ Scaringe, the founder and CEO of Rivian, a lot of people know them to be one of the most exciting new EV or really car startups, period. Like it's a really exciting new car company, but not many people know that he is committed to being one of the most sustainable car companies in the world. And he walks the talk every day. When they found out that we were one of the most sustainable snack brands, they were like, oh, we should talk. Let's do some things together. The opportunity for collaboration with mission-driven people, companies, whatever, that's always out there waiting to happen, if you will. And when those connections happen, it never gets old. I mean, we just connected with one of the most famous climate scientists on the planet, probably the most famous guy you've never heard of. You ever heard of Lonnie Thompson? You ever heard of Lonnie Thompson? I'd never heard of Lonnie Thompson. I can't believe I'd never heard of Lonnie Thompson. I got invited to speak at a sustainability food program with Fordham University in New York City in April, which was really exciting and fun. As you can tell, I love talking about this stuff. Healthy food and sustainability. And on the way back, I was exhausted. Just wanted to watch a movie on the flight. And I came across this documentary that I'd never heard of called Canary, as in canary in a coal mine. Canary, like early warning detection. And it's the life story of this scientist, Lonnie Thompson, who for 50 years has been traveling around the globe to these really remote places at altitude to drill ice cores and tropical ice caps. So think about what I just said, a tropical ice cap. Like that sounds really counterintuitive. How can there be an ice cap near the equator? But there are. Kilimanjaro in Africa has a glacier on top. Calcea, which is where he is today, in Peru, is so far away from everything. Like you can see it off in the distance, but there's nothing near it. There's no villages or towns or roads. And when he first went there, it's like, how do I get there? Like, well, I don't know. Like no one's ever wanted to go there. Why do you? And he's a scientist, not a mountain climber, an explorer, but he knew that there was valuable science buried in glaciers, tropical glaciers. So it's like rings on a tree. He drills out these ice core samples he went back 2,000 years and then 20,000 years and every year there's atmospheric history locked in all of those ice cores. He almost single-handedly invented, not literally, but kind of, the science of climate change, which is kind of a big deal. Like you can't fix a problem until you know you have a problem. So he was able to graph all these temperature readings that were locked in these ice core samples. When he discovered, he was like, folks, Houston, we've got a problem here. At age 77, he's still active. After I saw the documentary, I couldn't sleep that night. I was so inspired and like, holy cow, how could I not have heard of this guy? And so I started, looking him up on the internet and everything. And I didn't even know if he was still alive. Not only is he still alive, he's teaching at Ohio State University, Earth Sciences. So, and I had an email address. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to email him. And I spent like 2 days crafting this email, editing, just wanted to say the right things. And, like, first of all, dude, you're amazing. Like, thank you for all the work you've done on the part of humanity and the planet. It's incredibly inspiring. And I'd love to hear more about your story. Would you be open to setting up a Zoom call? And he responded immediately and was like, absolutely. And so we had this 1.5 hour initial kind of get to know each other call. And that led to 2 or 3 other Zoom calls. We, of course, sent him a care package. It's just kind of a thank you. But then I found out in June, Lonnie's going back to Calcea in Peru. And I was like, how about if we sponsor your expedition? We'd be proud to sponsor your expedition. He was like, that'd be amazing. It was kind of turned into this he really liked the product and it's again, those mission aligned people love connecting with other mission aligned folks. And so I was really excited. He seemed, genuinely, interested in everything. And I was like, we'd be really proud if you be willing, if you want to join our team as one of our ambassadors, you don't really have to do anything. Just, when the time and conditions are right, just say what you want to about Shār. Not require any, just when the time and conditions, when it feels like a good time to say something about us, just do that. It might come up in a conversation or your talk. I don't know. Whatever that looks like for you that's all we ask. And it's not really an ask. It's just going to sort of organically evolve that way. So then that was really exciting that Lonnie Thompson's our newest Shār ambassador. I am thrilled. The opportunity for those connections just keeps popping up, and it's super exciting and just gratifying. It just makes it another great day.
And I'm sure that won't stop, right? Because people resonate with, like you said, like the shared values is realistically what it comes down to, which is awesome.
I used to lead with product. Because product is king. And so oftentimes, because I think, this differentiation, 100% plastic free, is so important. And also it's remember, first best different. Like, that's really different. That's one of the only snack containers in the snack industry that can say that, which is heartbreaking in 2025. And that we would love. I can't wait. My dream for the future is we don't have to say that 100% plastic free. If I said that to you as a consumer, you'd be like, dude, everything's plastic free. We can eat that container. Like, it's edible.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that the future of packaging has moved away entirely from the scourge of single-use plastics, because it is choking the planet.
What can a consumer do, the everyday consumer who's, buying in a grocery store, from your perspective, what can they do to push that situation forward? And
choose Shār. Just choose us. We've done all the work. You will be a more sustainable human being if you just choose us, because giving back to the outdoors, plastic-free packaging. Oh, and by the way, single use, this one-time use, this plastic-free paper tube, a bio-based ink, the sticker used to seal that is a compostable plastic-free sticker. There's nothing on this paper tube that'll ever harm the planet. It'll just biodegrade. So you could use it once and know that no matter what you do with it, you could literally toss it in town lake. It'll never harm the planet. And it's really useful and intuitive. Just like your Yeti water bottle, side pocket of your backpack, car cup holder, sitting at your desk working from home. It's a really useful, intuitive snack container. Literally handy.
Yeah.
Very handy. The fold-down trays on an airplane? Little circular cutout. I didn't design it for that. It fits perfectly there. Good packaging karma.
Yeah.
But it's got a superpower. It's endlessly refillable for up to 2 years. When you come to know the sustainability side of things, that is a game changer, because recycling is really problematic. 95%, here's a fun fact, 95% of all the plastic that's ever been made in the United States has never been recycled. In the last 70 years, 95% of all the plastic that's ever been made has never been recycled. So recycling plastic is really a myth perpetrated by the petroleum industry to make us all feel good about using and interacting with plastic stuff. But it's like the tobacco industry. It's a non-starter. It's not that nothing's ever been recycled, but it's never will be a functioning way of dealing with plastic. That's not good. There are things that are highly recyclable and get recycled. Paper gets recycled, is recyclable. Glass is recyclable, gets recycled. Aluminum is the most recyclable. So there are certain materials where it does work better than plastic does, but plastic not good. Composting, which is amazing because it's turning something that can into fertilizer, basically, that can grow something else. So that's a huge advantage if anything is compostable. But only 10% of what we can compost in the US is being composted. So that's a problem. So really the key to the sustainable future we all want is create less trash. So reuse, repurpose, recycle is really the golden ticket to get there. So the fact that you can reuse this tube for 2 years, it's like for the win.
Yeah.
And so we have bigger bags you can buy, plastic-free, certified compostable pouches. to refill the tubes. We built a sustainable ecosystem within the brand to create less packaging waste. The 2.5-pound bag will refill that tube 11 times. That's 11 less tubes in the waste stream. How cool is that?
I love that for so many reasons, but I think the reusability is such a great point, right? Like, I mean, even reusing it for something that's not share related, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you could put a small roll of toilet paper in there.
yeah.
Makeup for, women could put makeup. I mean, you could spare change, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of other uses. You could, it's a great use for this. You could put some soil in there and a little seedling starter. How cool would that look with a share tube?
Yeah. Why 2 years? Is it because it starts biodegrading?
No, that's just mine's lasted that long, so I know it'll last, and I use mine way more than most people do it.
Is that the one that's sitting there?
No, that one's a newer because we had a label update this year.
Okay.
So it looks kind of fresh and a little updated. So that's a newer version, but we haven't done a test it, and it depends on use.
Sure.
But we know it used to be a year, and then it's like, oh, this lasts way more than a year. So just knowing that it's at least, it will last that long. Any extended use is a benefit.
To me,
because almost all packaging single use, like it's just rip it open, throw it away. Billions of single-use plastic in the snack business this year are going to get, and 82% of that is in oceans, landfills, and waterways. We got to move away from that. We got to move away from that. To the degree we're able to be successful then and get market share, because we're not creating new snack customers. We have to get someone who's already snacking, what's your favorite snack? What do you buy when you go to a store? Like, what do you like to buy? Customers have their snacks that they know that they like. There's a lot of options, hundreds and hundreds of options, and a lot of good options, I'd say. We have to get you to move over, try ours, and hopefully like it enough where it's like we've repatriated you over to share. And so that's not easy because it's not broken. Like, you like what you buy. So now that's what makes it really hard for younger brands like us. We're not creating new market. We have to tape from existing market. Okay, so then if we're successful, those companies we're taking from are going to be like, what happened? We were 12% market share and now we're 7%. Where did shares got 20%? What the hell's going on over there? And then if they see that the reason is plastic-free packaging, they're giving back to the outdoors, it's organic, like then they'll do what, then the market's saying that's relevant and important. It's all market driven. I mean, healthy and taste good, those often don't go together.
Exactly.
They shouldn't be mutually exclusive, but I believe consumers somehow have been conditioned to think they have to do penance to eat healthy. Like, they know that bar, which is reasonably healthy, tastes like the box it was shipped in. And it's like, to me, that is insane. It's food. Food can and should taste amazing. And it can. Try harder. We're a taste first company. Literally, the first threshold with us, with ingredients, is, does it taste good? And we've kicked out a lot of, healthy ingredient things that we were considering because we didn't think it met the taste good threshold, because it's food. You're going to go back to something that you really like the taste of, for sure.
That's where I was going as well, is that it tastes good, but the education perspective to bring the customer from like, yes, it tastes good, to I know it's good for me and it's good for the environment, is really the only barrier facing, right?
I wish I could kind of mind meld, consumers' instance so they knew what I knew about a brand. Our number one challenge for sure as a brand is brand awareness and, having them take a peek under the hood. I look at us as really like social change agent, social scientists in a way. Like, we have to educate consumers to, what a healthy food environment looks like. Healthy, responsibly sourced food, grown, organic or regeneratively organic, even better. We hope to move to regenerative organic ingredients. Regenerative organic farming is the future of farming. It's really what it was 150 years ago. So that's kind of an odd thing. Like, total full circle thing. It's easy to doom scroll on social media these days about the crisis that the planet's in with climate change, and our food system's a mess. It really is, and it's got to change. But the biggest little farm is a documentary, a true story about a husband and wife that bought a farm and turned it into a regenerative organic farm. And it was really hard, a lot of challenges, but what you see at the end is literally, I like was bawling 3 times watching it. And I knew what happened the second 2 times. And it's just a really moving, emotional story about, because the planet it's like a Garden of Eden. Everything that's here was meant to be here. Everything, living and unliving, it's all supposed to be here. But it's this huge orchestra of connection and biodiversity that's all meant to be exactly the way it is. We get glimpses of it. We're not connected to all the things. You have to go to a lot of different places to see the amazing, Africa, like what you can see there is different than Australia or the United States, and in the mountains versus the oceans. And but it's all this spectacular, beautiful place to be. And so I don't know, I think that's at the heart of, we're committed to preserving that and protecting it.
I've just listened to this podcast, watched the podcast. I'm bought in. I want to buy Shār. Where can I go to get it?
We're in about 1,600 stores, I think, in all 50 states, a little bit everywhere here in the U.S., including Alaska and Hawaii. A lot of boutique hotels. If you're traveling and staying in one of the hotels, you'll find us in the mini bar or in their convenience store. But the easiest way is just on our website. We have, ShāRsnacks.com. We ship all over the world. Not as much internationally because it costs a lot to ship trail mix internationally. It's just not a super expensive thing to be shipping overseas. So we make everything here. We're very vertical. We mix, pack, and ship everything from our own kitchen facility here in Austin. So the only thing we don't do is grow the ingredients. That's a whole nother part of the business. Like that was on the connection side, like I had another aha moment. So 3 years, 900 hours, 52 iterations to create the recipe. But then I thought, God, I wonder if there's better versions of the ingredients than what Trader Joe's sells, which is where I've been going to. So a recipe is just what's in it and what assortment. It doesn't speak to quality of ingredients. It's just, here's what goes in this recipe. But it's food, and so the ingredient quality matters a lot, or it can. I'll say that. You can go to Ponderosa and get a steak dinner for $8.99, and you can go to Ruth's Chris and get a steak dinner today for $89. They're both steak dinners, but it's going to be a really different dining experience because of the quality of the ingredient. That sent me on this 1-year hunt to find the best version of those 9 ingredients. And I got to, I'm finding these like craft farmers because we were looking for extraordinary. I didn't care what it cost. I just wanted to find the best version of it, right? Extraordinary version of an ordinary thing. So then it was just like, oh my God, these farmers are incredible. And you wouldn't believe, you can literally, every one of those 9 ingredients is like a hero ingredient, right? And so then times 9, because it's not just eating the cashews, that on their own, we could bag and be like, those might be the best cashews you've ever eaten, or the coconut, or the chocolate. But then you combine all 9 of them, and it's just like turbocharged the taste and texture because of how and where we source the ingredients. It's clean, like you can taste the difference. If I gave you the recipe for Shār, and you went home and you went out to the grocery store and bought it, probably conventional, not organic, it's hard to find them because not many people do organic. In a blindfolded taste test, you'd still be able to pick Shār out of a lineup 10 times out of 10. You can literally taste the difference.
We were talking about this idea of 10% in the rear view and 90% forward. Tell me what's next for Shār.
The way I approach that is we, own your backyard. So try to be strong and well positioned in your own home market, and then build out from there. So Southwest region, we're in stores like Whole Foods in the Southwest region. We'd like to be in, they have 10 regions, but the contiguous regions would make more sense so that we're connected to like California, the Rockies, and then work our way back east. So we have a lot of room to grow with where we already are in the natural grocery space. We have a lot of room to be able to grow there. And with other retailers we're not even in yet. Our direct-to-consumer market, online, I believe we can 3 to 4x what we're doing only because we haven't invested in it. All of the growth we've had with our direct-to-consumer sales has come organically. Customer acquisition cost isn't even a line item because we've never spent any money to drive traffic to our website. And it's only, well, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's 18% of our business now, but it feels like it could be 60%. Big opportunity there. I have a spreadsheet. Eventually we'd like to be a nationally distributed brand. I've got a spreadsheet with 36 countries on it where I think Shār could or should be available for sale. Because we want to share our healthy, delicious, and highly sustainable snacking with the planet.
Canada's next.
That goes without saying.
Yeah. Awesome.
Absolutely Canada. They're on the list. We love Canada.
Where can we send people to follow along your journey and Shār's?
Give us a follow on Instagram. It's just shar.snacks. And you can, if you scroll down a little bit, through our feed, you'll get a good sense of who we are, what we're doing, and what we care about. On our website, you can do a reasonably good deep dive there. Probably on LinkedIn. We try to stay reasonably active posting there as well. So yeah.
Peter, thanks so much for this conversation, and it's been a pleasure. And I truly can't wait to taste the product for multiple reasons now, right? So
yep. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for coming today.
Yeah, it was great.